Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Daily Stand-Up. My name is Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad. And without any further ado, let's get started. One of the things that I discovered in doing some recent reading was a story, and I want to share this story with you. It was a story about a young girl who was 19, and I should say young lady. She was 19 after all, and she had some friends, and they decided that they wanted to spend some time together. They wanted to hang out and go, do some fun activities or whatever the case may be. And this particular young lady was incredibly responsible. She had homeschooling. She was very adept at doing things and was really excited to spend time with some much needed time with friends after, being secluded via pandemic for all this time. And she got a couple of her friends together, not many, but made sure that they were well after being quarantined, and they each lived alone. So, it was a perfectly safe engagement. None of them were going out, and she wasn't going out either. And they said, "Hey, what should we do?" And one of the young ladies suggested, "Well, I think we should watch a movie." And they said, "Yeah, that'll be a good thing." They said, "But how about we fix some dinner first?" And that sounds like a grand idea. So, what should we cook? Became the next question. And when it comes down to what should we cook, immediately one of the young ladies said, "Oh, well, I know a perfect recipe for XYZ or ABC." And one of the other young ladies said, "Can't we just order something in?" And the first young lady was like, "Why would we order something in? We have all the ingredients. We can cook something. It'll be a lot healthier. It'll be better. It doesn't have preservatives." And this one young lady said, "Well, I've never cooked before." And the first young lady said, "Well, we can learn together. I'll teach you, She says, "I've cooked a lot of things, and I can certainly teach you." And she says, "Well, why don't you get all the ingredients out?" And the first young lady said, "Well, I don't know what many of these ingredients are." Or the second young lady said that, and the first young lady said, "No problem. I can help you with those ingredients. I'll help you find everything you need. If you could just go and throw my laundry in." And The second young lady says, I've never done laundry. My parents do all my laundry for me. And this situation quickly eroded as we learned that the first young lady, who was responsible, knew how to cook, knew how to do her own laundry, understood credit card debt, and even how to balance a checkbook, as antique as that may be. She understood how to file her taxes, how to change a tire on her car, how to do all these typical things, where the second young lady was in quite a bit of trouble, in my opinion, where she didn't know how to do any of these things because she had never been asked to do these things before. Now, I know what you're thinking. She must have come from an affluent family, and that wasn't the case at all. It's just this young lady spent a lot of her time, on social media, on video games, on different things, and just, while she had certain skills that were very impressive, none of her skills involved things that could be applied in a real-life situation that would save her life, help others, or help her contribute or add value to society. And this is why I wanted to focus today's topic on educators. Now, I don't want it to sound self-serving because I'm not talking about myself as an educator. I'm talking about those who teach high school and freshmen in college and people who are educating the citizens of tomorrow, the people who will be making critical decisions and aligning successful workplaces and helping build the products and services of tomorrow. And I think that oftentimes when we talk about Scrum or we talk about Agile, we don't talk about why is it important for educators or for teachers to understand these values and how can they apply in a classroom. There was another organization who worked with a high school out in Arizona who quickly discovered that the children didn't learn the way traditional, teaching or traditional brick and mortar schools were teaching. They quickly discovered that, a lot of things have changed over time, but the way that we were teaching children had never evolutionized. It had never changed. That we were still using books and brick and mortar buildings and capturing students for so many hours a day and teaching fundamentals of geometry and trigonometry and the Pythagorean theorem. And while some students would go on to use these very practices later in life based on a career choice that they made, to others who wanted to be an electrician or or a beautician or a barber or a plumber, they would use some math calculations, but not necessarily the math calculations that were being taught to them in school. And when it came to practical life matters, none of these things were being taught to them in school. So one of the quests that I, as founder of AgileDad, have set out on is to try to create an environment where teachers, educators, college professors, people who touch the lives of young men and women would have an opportunity to come to an Agile class, to a Scrum Master class or Product Owner class, and learn how they could apply this in a classroom. As I mentioned, this one school, they discovered quickly that book learning wasn't the right thing. So when you ask these young men and women, how did they learn? What was the number one way that they learned? What was the number one thing? What was the number one tool that they used? If they didn't know something, where did they go? Our parents might have went to an encyclopedia. We might have went to Google. These young people go to YouTube and they look for a video that's going to teach them how to do things. At least that was the majority of the answer that we received. So my question became, how can we liken our teaching and our teaching style and our classrooms and our environment to create an environment of psychological safety that mimics the way people learn on YouTube? And through doing a quick case study, I tried to identify the least useful, most frustrating instructions and the most useful, best instructions, just so I could see what both ends of the spectrum might look like. And I think all of you would agree, if you've ever shopped at IKEA before, that might be what we consider the least useful instructions. While it's illustrations, it's easy to understand. They don't need to worry about digesting it in multiple languages. The pictures often are cryptic and hard to depict, and if you've ever built a piece of IKEA furniture and became frustrated before, you know exactly where I'm coming from. And I think on the most useful end of the spectrum are YouTube step-by-step tutorials where it gives you a step and then pauses and then gives you another step and pauses, and it shows you, illustrates how to do it on a screen and gives you written instruction at the bottom. So that way, even if you have the volume down, there's no way you can go wrong. And I think that what I'm trying to say is I want to encourage educators to teach and to follow more of a YouTube type principle when it comes to aligning their classrooms, letting students kind of take control of their learning, the flow at which they're learning, making sure they cover all the core things, but also taking into consideration that not every student is going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, that some of these students have aspirations or dreams to run a family shoe business or to become the best barber in the neighborhood. And I think that we need to pay closer attention to our target audience and figure out a way that we can apply Agile teachings and Agile principles to help make sure that we have all the basics covered that are going to help these people know how to cook a meal and how to do certain things, but also teach them how to do the things that they want to do. Now, for many years I've said that, brick and mortar schools need to go away at some point, and that, when a child reaches high school, that, they should have some idea about whether they're cut out to go to college and they feel good about that, or if there's something else that they dream of doing. And if there is, we need to, beyond the trade school mentality, we need to let these students go for a half day under a mentorship and make sure we teach them the things that they need to know in order to survive in the world while they're in school. And then after that session is over, allow them to go and practice the trade that they need to. Because what we'll quickly discover is that a world full of people who can do certain trades and services and can contribute and add value to our society is going to far outweigh the people who we've tried to pigeonhole into certain careers or things that they're unhappy with, only for hope that they'll have a better financial future or whatever the case may be. Creating an environment of psychological safety, of kindred learning, where we can have the ability for people to learn in a way that's comfortable for them, and couple that with an environment where people are inquisitive and able to ask questions and able to learn how to do life skills. And I think that when you put all that together, you're going to wind up with a perfect recipe for successful citizens, for people who are happy doing what they're doing, And as part of this initiative, we want to offer some special discounts to teachers, and even at some point hoping to put together a sponsor class. So if you know anyone that would like to sponsor a class for educators, we'd love to put one of those together so that we can try, while we have this break, this downtime, to get as many educators, teachers, professors into a classroom to learn how to apply basic Agile and Scrum principles in their classroom so that they can gain the maximum benefit from educating their students, and so that they can flex their muscles and have a different tool in their toolkit to help them be successful in their careers. This is something I'm extremely passionate about. I encourage you to reach out to me directly for this one at lee@agiledad.com. And I would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback. I'd love to hear your ideas of how we can get this implemented. I know that other organizations have done this throughout schools. I just want to really open up one session to teachers and to educators and kind of see where it takes us, whether it's a one-day introduction to Scrum or whether it's a 2-day certification training. I want to figure out a way to open that door. So I'm counting on you to give me that help. As always, we thank you for being here. We love that you take time out of your day to listen to our journey as we go through all these episodes. Tune in tomorrow where we can learn more about how Agile applies to veterans. Until then, stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Take care, my friends.